away secrets to other countries, right?
Well, if they were, then they wouldn't make
In
obvious.
which case we might want to check some of our politicians.
Imagine Justin Trudeau just like giving information to
What
Russia or whatever.
government secrets does Canada hold?
It might not just be secrets, but it might just be, okay, so for example, do you kids know, like a couple months back, this actually wasn't publicized very much. A couple months back, there was an investigation, and the RCMP, I think they found that there was like 17 fake police stations set up by the Chinese government or something.
Yeah.
Does anyone else know about this?
What?
Yeah, I didn't look too much into it, but that's insane. That another government, that another country has fake police stations set up in Canada. You know, and it's like,
So
okay.
Is it just random buildings or does it do something?
I didn't look too much into the stories, and I didn't see a whole lot. Do you want to add some detail?
Yeah, so like they were in like places where a lot of like Chinese immigrants are, and they had a list of people that like weren't Canadian citizens or had like family back in China that say like that person was a citizen but had family in China, and they would find out stuff that they were doing and kind of like scare them and use like scare tactics, and there was some rumors that they were like scaring them into voting for like the Liberals, and
So they're mostly monitoring people who were formerly living in China. Yeah. The Chinese government isn't democratic. They're also not. They're doing some very sketchy things that a lot of the world turns a blind eye to, because a lot of our manufacturing happens in China. China has a lot of resources and a big working population, so a lot of countries will turn a blind eye. Similarly to how we might turn a blind eye to Saudi Arabia, because they provide a lot of oil, right? Just a little anecdote, fun little story there. There's a guy in my neighborhood. He kind of helps out with the community league, and when he found out that a photo of him had been posted online, he like messaged my friend who's president or someone, said, "Hey, can you take this photo down of me? Like, I don't want my image being posted." And it might have been due to fear of like people being able to pick up on where he is, right? And so obviously from an immigration perspective, like we don't want people coming here who are going to cause problems for Canadian, who are going to undermine Canadian society and Canadian systems. You know, that's not what we want here, right? Like, we want kumbaya, ideally. Okay, we already learned about this in the previous chapter. I didn't know this. April 4th is Refugee Rights Day, after a 1985 Supreme Court decision known as the Singh decision. This guy, Satnam Singh, came to Canada as a refugee. He was rejected under the Immigration Act of 1976, which did not allow him to state his case in person or appeal the decision. So I believe this person was already in Canada and wanted to see a court, but obviously the Charter of Rights and Freedoms didn't exist in 1976. The Supreme Court ruled that this violated Section 7 of the Charter, which states that everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right not to be deprived thereof. Interesting little right there. The results, so people claiming refugee status have the right to a hearing which they attend in person. The Immigration and Refugee Board was created to provide quick and fair hearings. The government provides people seeking refugee status with the necessities of life while they wait for a hearing. Okay, so a friend of mine from the Israel part of the world, he's Arab, he's Palestinian. A few years back, he kind of started this process of becoming a refugee, fleeing out of Israel. And so yeah, when he started his process and his case was open, the caseworker gave him through some government funding, gave him access to some money to get so he could get food. They ensured he had housing. They gave him access to the YMCA access or a government rec centers, right? Like public rec centers and whatnot. And he got quite a bit of help from the government in the process, but ultimately he chose not to continue on with the process of being a refugee because he didn't want to leave his family behind. Right, so he had some challenges. I should state also that this was in Quebec, which is kind of interesting. Okay, some challenges here. I think we are almost done this PowerPoint. So some challenges to Aboriginal rights. So treaties create a commitment for Aboriginal people to share in Canada's prosperity. However, some Aboriginal people continue to face health, education, and employment challenges due to the issues of the past. This can be made worse because Canada seeks to fill the need for skilled workers through immigration rather than training Aboriginal people. Seems very diminutive. That's the right word. That I don't know. Personally, I believe that people should be allowed some degree of freedom of choice of what they want to do with their life. So you can't just necessarily go into a community and say, okay, you're all going to be skilled workers. Congratulations, now you have a job. Some Franco-Albertan rights. So since Francophones in minority settings have collective rights, the government created a plan to help them attract French-speaking immigrants, which we might not always do. I want to say the government was trying to change some of this stuff. I thought I read somewhere that they wanted to make a change that people didn't have to make an oath, but I could be completely wrong on that. Anyways, when people become citizens, they have to swear an oath that they'll be faithful to Canada's monarch, which would be the king now, to observe Canadian laws, to fulfill their duties as a citizen. Anyone in this class not a citizen? Anyone gained citizenship recently? I was probably like 5 to 8 years old when I gained citizenship. I still remember going to my ceremony. I don't remember much from it. I just remember sitting in a room and there's a lot of older people there with my family.
Well, I was at my aunt's ceremony, and pretty much what happened is they had a picture of the queen at the front of the room, and then they could do an oath or an affirmation, and I think an oath is when you swear on a Bible or a religious text, and then affirmation is just on a book of the charter or whatever, and they swore the oath, and then it was pretty much over.
Okay. So they either swear an oath on a religious document or an affirmation on, let's say, a legal document.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. We reached the end.